Hello students, welcome to this class. We'll be talking about floriculture. So our topic for today is floriculture. Floriculture involves the growth, care, uses, and marketing of ornamental crops. Ornamental trees, shrubs, and flowers are very important in a number of ways. Apart from being used in decoration, they are also means of livelihood. So in this lesson, we will be looking at the topic floriculture. And by the end of the lesson, you should be able to state the meaning of floriculture, highlight the importance and uses of ornamental plants, list the common species of ornamental trees, shrubs, and flowers, mention some planting materials, and state the cultivation of ornamental trees or flowers, and finally explain the maintenance of ornamental plants. So let's start with the meaning of floriculture. Floriculture is simply defined as the production and management of ornamental plants, which includes trees, shrubs, and flowers. So let's take a look at the importance of or uses of ornamental plants. Now, the first we have is that ornamental plants and flowers provide employment or income to horticulturists. The horticulturists are specialists who actually grow flowers, who grow fruits, vegetables. Now, these ornamental plants and flowers can help to provide employment to such horticulturists. Flowers are also used as an expression of love and as a gift as gifts on special occasions. Now, in the West, especially in the Western world, flowers are very cherished by individuals who could use it to express love to their loved ones. Now, shade-loving ornamentals can be used for decoration in porches, verandas, and halls. Now, most plants usually need sunlight and thrive in an environment where there's sunlight. But there are certain plants that also could thrive in environments where there's no sunlight. They're called shade-loving plants. Now, we have shade-loving ornamental plants which could be used to decorate verandas, porches, and halls, which are indoor environments. So, we also have densely branched ornamental shrubs, which could be used for fencing. As you can see in the picture, this ornamental plant is densely branched. You can see it's used to provide a form of enclosure, you understand, so which is fencing. Okay. Now, ornamental plants and flowers can also be used to beautify environments. As you can see, this building has a lot of flowers, a lot of shrubs, which are used to keep the environment beautiful. Some flowers are used for the preparation of dyes. Now, dyes can be used on our clothing. Dyes can be used on the human hair, and so these dyes are gotten from some flowers. Some ornamental plants are used for visual screening or concealing views to provide privacy. When you need privacy, you do not want passerbys to actually look into your environment where you're residing. You could use ornamental flowers or plants, to provide visual screens or to conceal the views. Some ornamental plants have medicinal values and they can be used in herbal preparation. So it's important for you to also know that some of the herbal preparations are gotten from ornamental plants. The decay of leaves of ornamental plants improves soil fertility. Now, when the leaves are shed and undergo decomposition, they tend to add humus to the soil, which helps to improve fertility of the soil. So ornamental plants can help us help to improve soil fertility. Now, some ornamental plants are used for teaching and learning purposes, like the hibiscus flower, which flower is a reproductive part of a plant, and when you study it, it can be used to provide knowledge to students. So ornamental plants can be used for teaching and learning purposes. Some ornamental plants have large and broad leaves, which are capable of providing shade in residential environments. Now, of course, when there's a scorching heat or the sun rays are intense, this ornamental plants that have broad leaves can be used as a means of providing shade in a residential environment. The beauty and fragrance of some ornamental plants gives some people pleasure and satisfaction. The fragrance coming from some of these ornamental plants are actually pleasant, and these tend to provide some pleasure and satisfaction for some individuals. Well-established ornamental gardens serve as tourist attraction. Now, the beauty of some of these ornamental plants actually attract people who just love to have a view, and these are tourists who love to just have a view of such an environment where ornamental gardens are established. So let's take a look at some common species of ornamental plants, starting with ornamental trees. Now we have frangipani, we have royal palm, we have flame of the forest, which is an ornamental tree. We have neem, which is an ornamental tree. We have balsam, which is also an ornamental tree. We have Indian almond as an ornamental tree. We have Delonix too as an ornamental tree. Now let's look at ornamental shrubs. The trees usually have one trunk. An ornamental shrub will have a lot of stems, or yes, a bunch of stems growing together, more than one stem growing together. So an example of ornamental shrub is alamander. We have ixora, acalifa, wild rose, zinnia. These are examples of ornamental shrubs. Croton, you can see what I was talking about, having different stems, a collection or a group of stems together. So this croton gives us a picture of what I'm talking about. That's why it's called a shrub. We have cauliflower, hibiscus flower, hibiscus plant. We also have bougainvillea as an ornamental shrub. So let's look at ornamental flowers. We have justicia as an ornamental flower, morning glory, water lettuce, sunflower, an ornamental flower, Camelina nodiflora, which is a common name is blue feather, is an ornamental flower. We have gloriosa. We also have Canaan lily. We have Crotalaria jonesii. We have marigold. Okay, let's look at the cultivation of ornamental trees and flowers. Now, the cultivation of ornamental trees and flowers includes the following activities. Now, these are the certain things you need to carry out or achieve in order to cultivate ornamental trees and flowers. First is choice of site. The site should be well drained and easily accessible. Planting materials is another thing we need to consider, that the planting materials include the seed, the stem cuttings, and even leaves as well. And the plant that we could cultivate using the leaves is Varaphyllum pinnatum. We need to look at the method of cultivation, still under the cultivation of ornamental trees and flowers. They can be grown, ornamental trees and flowers can be grown using any of the methods, any of the following methods. Use of prepared beds, use of prepared beds, and you could also sow it directly to the soil. You could also use nylon bags, and you could also use pots. So these are the ways or methods by which you can cultivate ornamental trees and flowers. Let's look at the maintenance of ornamental plants. You should carry out regular weeding, that's getting rid of unwanted plants around the ornamental plants. Regular watering. Plants need water to survive, so you need to regularly water the ornamental plants. Provision of shade. This also helps the ornamental plants to thrive, to prevent the scorching heat from affecting the ornamental plants. So provision of shade is another important maintenance practice of ornamental plants. Then fertilizer application. This also is necessary because it helps to boost the growth of these plants by replenishing nutrients or lost nutrients, or improving the nutrient quality, availability in the soil. Regular pruning. This has to do with removal of unwanted branches. This also is necessary to encourage proper growth of the ornamental plants. Okay, let's just have a recap on what we've learned so far. In this lesson, we looked at the meaning of floriculture, which involves the production and management of ornamental plants. We looked at the importance of ornamental plants, which involve providing employment for horticulturists, it being an expression of love for decoration purposes, for beautification, for production of dyes. We looked at ornamental trees, which include frangipani, royal palm, flame of the forest, neem, just to mention a few, the neem plant, to mention a few, or the neem tree. They also looked at ornamental flowers, which is just some of which include justicia, morning glory, water lettuce, sunflower, Camelina nodiflora, just to mention a few. And we also looked at the cultivation of ornamental plants. which include choice of site, planting of materials, and methods of cultivation. So let's take a look at some questions to test our knowledge of understanding. Here we have this question says, ornamental plants are primarily cultivated, one, to provide fodder for livestock, serve as raw materials, serve as mulching materials to beautify the environment. The keyword here is primarily. That's the main purpose for which we cultivate ornamental plants, is to beautify the environment. This question says, a suitable grass lawn is, we have Panicum maximum, Andropogon gaianus, Pedicetum puperum, Synodon dactylon. Now, when we're talking about lawns is still also a means by which our environment is beautified, and certain grasses are suitable for the lawns. And since we're talking about floriculture and ornamental plants which have to beautify our environment, the ideal grass here that will help, that is suitable for lawn, is Synodon dactylon, which is the common name is known as Bermuda grass. So the answer here is Synodon dactylon. So thank you so much for your time. I will advise that you go through more questions to test your level of understanding of this topic. Thank you.